Yeah. Well, let's tap into that Enneagram topic,
Oh
man.
man, that's a deep one.
Um, Enneagram I heard about through my wife and your wife and pretty much the household starting to talk about it more and more.
It's a culture in our house
And
now.
yeah, it is. And I've come to appreciate it more. At first it was
Is it
it was
annoying?
weird. It was kind of annoying because it was like, oh, like here's just another thing that people want to find identity in and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I was like, huh, like this is repetitively having something to do with me. Oh,
Accurate.
like that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
That yeah. So so
It honestly, when it first starts off, it is kind of annoying. Like you're like, oh, like, are you an INFJ? Or it almost kind of reminds you of people when people do the star astrology stuff, and they're
yeah.
like, oh,
Mhm.
you're a Sagittarius, like
It's
you
like
must do this,
right,
and it's
right.
like really, like I don't
Yeah.
think that.
And that's a verbiage that isn't said, but is the reality of those things that I don't like. That it's like, oh, so as soon as you're declared as this thing, you by default acquire all of these traits. And it's like, well, I don't want those traits. Like, and ask for any of those. But Enneagram seems to do something special when it comes to the accuracy of it. And if it's not even I know there's legit research being done behind the scenes with a lot of it, but
hmm
even if it's just people talking about it, it's cool because it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to those things. Oh, I can't relate to those. But
Yeah.
it's like, oh, if that thing pulls on one of my heartstrings, maybe like there's something I should pay attention to and and do something about or think about differently or something.
Hmm.
But it's mostly a good conversation piece.
So, for those of you who don't know, the Enneagram is a personality test, essentially diagnosing you as one of 9 types. You have a major type, essentially, and then you have your secondary or wing, which is your secondary reasons for doing things. Um, the reason why I think it's different than other ones that I've seen is that I feel like other ones, they kind of tell you what you do and they don't tell you why you do it.
Hmm.
Whereas I feel like the Enneagram diagnoses like this is what you want in life. Like it literally says like this is your driving force and this is why all these things happen. Because like for instance, a type one, they are very like principled. They have this is right and wrong. This is the way that you need to be um essentially you be in life and then you so a lot of your stuff is a set of principles. So like when you make certain decisions you are doing them because it's something that you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like the type ones is and there's a lot of other things mixed in and it's not just that but it's like the main thing of a type one is that they have a set of principles of right and wrong that they have
Mm-hmm.
to adhere to for the most part. um, so I like it because I feel, in a way, I feel a little bit more like known. Like my wife got into it before I did, and I was kind of the same way as you originally. I was like, oh, you're gonna get into this, and then she was like saying like, oh, like this, I think this one's you or whatever, and it just for she was like nicer to me after she started looking into it because she started understanding the reasons why I did
Uh,
things,
isn't
and
that
she's like,
crazy?
because she thought I was just crazy before, like why would you like care about that so much or why would you do this? And it's like, because I don't know, like you don't, and because you don't sometimes, it can help you even discover a little bit about yourself that you didn't know before, or at
Yeah.
least put words to thoughts that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why I like the Enneagram. It's not perfect. It doesn't like get it 100%, but it's definitely like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And like from everything that I've seen, it works pretty effectively to I mean the people that we know, like it's like even they self-identify as, yeah, that's the reason why I do things. Like
Yeah.
and so it's like and then you start thinking like about I analyze all people's actions now. So now I'm like, okay, like if this fits in with their thing, like this actually makes a lot more sense now to me because I'm like, why are you freaking out so much about this? It's
Yeah.
because you care about it because of you're a type 6 and you love security and you love like nothing can go wrong. But
Right.
um, so it's just a lot more interesting to me, I guess, that
Mhm.
I've seen that it actually works in a lot of situations.
Mhm. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what all 9 are and what they're, but not like you could phrase them in one word
Mm-hmm.
things anyways. But I couldn't even define them for you really, besides the few that we've talked about with like people that we live with and
Yeah.
stuff. Uh, but you and I seem to have a lot of uh, attachment to a lot of the fundamentals of the type 1, which is kind of cool. I
Yeah.
think, and this is all self-diagnoses for each of us, if not third-party diagnoses by our wives and stuff. But
A lot of
but
that,
it's like,
yeah.
but it's like the wing stuff that you talk about. I think that's where we might differ on a few
Mm-hmm.
things, but I think fundamentally
But we
we
have
line up with
we
the
line
ones
up
a
pretty
lot.
well. I think that obviously even type ones will vary because they're not going to have all the same principles even, you
True.
know? And and it's kind of interesting to see that even though you can kind of put us in some similar like blocks, still how different we are as people, as individuals, because of, for one, the things that have shaped us in life, maybe a little bit of biology, things that we're already pre kind of conditioned to.
Hmm.
Um, and then I would be interested to know how much of the Enneagram is bi- biological, or would it be what do they talk about? Nature versus nurture. So like, would
Yeah.
it be taught? Like,
Hmm.
is it like a response to a major event in your life that you had, like, for instance, like a type 1, like they saw a lot of people doing things that they saw were wrong, and they
Mm.
just didn't really like that at all, and then so
Yeah.
they start like morphing into that more. Or like a type 6, like they had a very insecure childhood, so they just want everything to be secure. Or a type 4 is like they felt like they were just like one, like part of a crowd, and they wanted to be seen as an individual. And like, obviously there's all different types, and so it's like, or maybe a type 9, you dealt with so much conflict that you just kind of like don't want to deal with conflict in a certain way anymore, and so you become like you morph a lot to different things, as the type 9 typically does.
Yeah.
um so it's just kind of interesting to think about. I'm like, what is it, or is like our brains just programmed that way, like you are going to be
Right.
kind of that ideas from the get-go.
Yeah, the nature versus nurture stuff, whether we're talking about Enneagram or anything else, I think is a scary topic when you start saying, oh, what if it is biological and these are mental traits you inherit and stuff? Because it's like, okay, so does that imply the potential to also inherit like memories and
Ooh.
you know what I mean? Like all of these other things that would have to do with the functioning of the brain,
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, if you're willing to say that about like how you process things, what else are you willing to say that about?
Yeah.
So, not that I don't believe that that could be a possibility. It's just a very daunting thing to think about. It's like,
It's
what?
weird. Well, it's almost like, if it's biological, how much control do you have in life?
Yeah.
How much of it is just predetermined, and not predetermined in the way that everything's going to happen
Hmm.
the way that that it was supposed to, but more so, like, do you have any choice in who you are as an individual?
Yeah.
I think you do. I feel like I've seen it, like in people where they change, and it's like you can change from something that you know have maybe had a previous process of. Now you change your process. I know that I've kind of had that, but maybe those are programmed into your brain where you get to a certain age, or you get a certain, or maybe something happens. It's like
Yeah.
reactive. Like if there's something happens, then your brain is already biochemically supposed to react that way, and it's
Right.
like
How far are you willing to go?
yeah, why, seriously.
Yeah. I I saw a video on YouTube once recently that kind of was breaking down what you actually are, who you actually are. Yeah, what you actually are is a
Hmm.
good thing. And it talked about like the possibility of every little thing being predetermined biologically, not like, well, basically like you are going to make this decision because you're wired this way, and you're wired this way because someone else made these decisions, and because someone else was wired this way, and so it's like, is it so bad that all we're doing is just witnessing, just observing ourselves? And I think when you start experimenting with like, okay, how many decisions can I make? Like, could I interrupt this conversation just to like pick up this glass right now, put it back down, or what? Was I already going to do
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. It's
because,
like,
yeah. So I think,
well, think about your subconscious too.
yeah.
How many things do you do subconsciously that it's just like, I would
Mhm.
just pick up this cup without even noticing and take a drink
Mhm.
without even probably doing it intentionally.
Mhm. Yeah. Things that you actively do subconsciously, things that you think subconsciously, like when you dream, like you're not dictating it. Like you are dictating that, but like you're not
Are
making a
you really?
conscious effort to
Yeah.
to do anything. So it's very strange. It's very strange. But I think anyone that has a spiritual background, a religious background, or anything like that can kind of feel that sense of uh, transcending what you're going to do by default in order to do what's better for
Good.
you, what's better for everyone else, and all these things. Um, and like we've already broken down, you could even argue that you're biologically more susceptible to think that you're doing the right thing or whatnot.
Mm.
But but I think that's the goal is if you just ride life and just go with the flow, do whatever's happening, and um, just kind of carry on half-ass about it and ride that. Like that's all you're ever going to get out of life until you pull yourself out and then do something else, do
Yeah.
something extra, switch something up, do the right thing, not avoid a certain conflict, whatever it is, and pull yourself out of that state of just observing. But
I could not, yeah. I don't think I could live life like that. I don't think I could live life in it, to me it would be almost be meaningless in a way if you just if everything was dictated. It's like obviously there's like little differences maybe, but like if I was always going to be the person that I am today, I would feel like every growth period that I had was pointless. Like
mm,
why struggle, when it's just going to happen anyways.
yeah,
And this is going into more Christian background and beliefs, but there's the debate of predestination
hmm,
versus choice, free will.
yeah,
And, a lot of people believe that there's a balance of those two things. And I think that I'm probably somewhere there. But I don't know that I could be okay with just everything being decided for me. Like, I don't think that I need to have control, but I'm like, what would be the point of life if everything was dictated almost to a
hmm,
T? Like almost like it just seems like what's the point of living? Like I could just do nothing and everything would be the same.
yeah,
But at the same time, I wouldn't do. I don't know. Maybe I was, exactly. Maybe I was predestined to do nothing. I don't know. Like
right,
there's all these different things that you can think about. But
yeah,
it's always irritated me, I guess, when it's when not that, like I said, not that I'm not in control or like that I feel like I need to be, but it's just so you feel like pointless, like meaningless in a way,
hmm,
because it's like, why do I even exist then? Or like, if everything's gonna turn out the way that it's going to, why do individuals exist? Why isn't it just already like the simulation already done?
yeah,
Like I don't need to take no pills or a red pill or blue pill because everything already went the way that it was supposed to.
yeah.